Ireland, baby, we did it. Yeah. Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk, episode 26. We're going to be breaking down your fallout, the hangover of UFC 200. We're proudly brought to you by MMAmix.com for all your MMA needs. Check them out. They're obviously good because they're with Obviously Fight Talk. We're coming at you recorded in the beautiful Whiskey Fair Dunleary. And if you're a fan of trad music, you're going to enjoy this episode because they're blasting out the Rebel songs down below. I'm joined as always by my two partners in crime and the man missing in action. So as always, Crazy Carl Doran.
What's the crack, lads?
Mr. Hashtag Win Decision Rob Pallin.
What's up?
And the gentleman making his long awaited return, Daniel Movaheady.
How we doing, gents?
What's
Hope
up, man?
you're well.
It's great to have you back. We spoke with Dan's back this week, coincidentally, after Faraj had mentioned he's leaving. We had to get Dan a work permit to come on now after the Brit exit. So welcome back, Dan. Good to have you. So, lads, basically this week, we normally do our quick fire news. We're going to do it a little different because it was such a week in fights. So my quick fire news for you this week, gentlemen, it's nice and easy. We're going to do the timer on the clock with the fights.
Yeah, we'll put it in, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I'm going to call out a fight to you and I want your reaction. So none of you know the fights I'm going to go with. So the first I'm going to pull from UFC Fight Night 90 is Irish Joe Duffy takes on Mitch. I won't do it again. Danger Zone Clark. So basically, Joe Duffy got the job done in 26 seconds. Landed a beautiful shot to get it to the ground and finish it with a rear naked choke. Did we all watch the fights and what did we think?
Yeah, absolutely devastating from Joe Duffy. Brilliant. Like, what was it? How many seconds in the first round? Do we know?
So it was 26 seconds by the time the finish came.
Absolutely brilliant. Like, that was, I believe, him with a big right, and he basically sprawled. It was like what's that lad's name for Bama? The elbow that he hit. I can't remember. Tom Dugan was.
Oh, Dugan
it was like that
elbow,
elbow, how he fucking flattened out on the ground.
Face planted, yeah.
Face plant, and then Duffy got the back. It was absolutely phenomenal. Really.
Yeah, like, Duffy looked great on the feet as we thought he would. His head movement, his movement, everything. Clark didn't look like, even though it didn't go that long, Clark didn't look like he would have been able to compete there. But once he dropped him, took the hooks so quickly, he controlled the arm straight away to make sure he couldn't defend the choke, and then took him out. He looked amazing. Obviously, you know, when you have a fight that quick, you don't know what he's going to look like, what adjustments he made from the first fight. So we're still waiting to see that, but he looked really, really good.
He looked lean and mean, and come on, you boys in green.
25 seconds of viewing the fight, but man, how that guy face planted, I'm sure he just like woke him up. Face planted, back turned around, and yeah, Joe Duffy, man, he's back, and it'd be interesting who they see. I mean, I don't know what the rumours are, who they've got him set up with next, or where he'll be fighting next, but it'll be an interesting matchup. But yeah, all in all, good fight, quick fight for him, and I'm sure he enjoyed the rest of his time in Vegas.
Yeah, what I liked about it as he was walking out of the cage as well, Dustin Poirier made it his business to come over to congratulate him as well. So old enemies and foes or whatever, but still that respect is there. So yeah, a great fight and a great win for Joe Duffy. As we all sort of said, it's hard to judge after basically after just he kind of basically break a fight down in 25, but it was a stunning victory for him and moving on. I think he's put himself, finishes and flash finishes like that will put you back and they'll get you notice these things, Yeah. So we move on to the next one. Again, I'm going to stick with the same fight card. This one I thought was controversial. Carl disagreed with me in a private message, but Derek Lewis gets the nod over Roy Nelson. Go.
Yeah, to be honest with you, all Roy done was pretty much fall into a position and not do anything with it. Every single time that went to the ground, he didn't do anything, didn't get much ground and pound going. Yeah, some people say, but he had top control. I don't really rate top control. As far as the way I score mixed martial arts, I think the way mixed martial arts should be scored, if you have top control, you should be doing something with it, either damage or improving your position. Nelson
but obviously the referee thought he was doing enough for him to stay there, though.
Yeah, well, referee was wrong, Dan. Referee was wrong.
I'll let him know.
Yeah. Now, my argument here is Roy Nelson got the takedown, worked into side control, into a crucifix, then also got full mount on 2 occasions. Yeah. So for me, that's called advancing your position and controlling and dominating where the fight takes place. So I thought, don't get me wrong, it was weird seeing Roy Nelson not want to get involved in a brawl. But I'd sort of say, well, fair play to Roy Nelson. He actually used tactics to win this fight rather than why would just it's like I won't break down other fight or talk about other fights, but there's other fights where a big hitter was fighting a wrestler and he won it by doing the exact same thing. So for me, it's I thought Roy Nelson was hard done by there. Derek Lewis landed some big shots in the fight, had Roy Nelson hurt, but Roy Nelson controlled where the fight took place, and I'd say the majority of the fight was on the ground with Roy Nelson in dominant position.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. That one big shot that Derek Lewis hit Roy Nelson with, I don't know how he survived. I don't know how he's still standing.
Right at the end.
Right at the end. And the spit flew. It was like something out of a Rocky movie. The spit fucking flew and his head went back. Unbelievable.
Like, I had Roy from my picks. I would have liked to see Roy win just on a selfish note, but I just don't think that Roy done that much, to be honest. I think you're really overstating what he done. Personally, I do. I think we're overstating what Roy done. It was a really poor performance from him, and like overall, the fight didn't live
Shut up. 2 minutes is up. So we went on then to this is great, man. This is it. When Carl starts getting things, you just go, shut up, Carl. Shut up your face.
And it's law. You can't break that law.
So this is the one I believe we all picked wrong. The main event of UFC 90. Eddie Alvarez beats Rafael dos Anjos to be the new lightweight champion. Stunning performance. Let's hear it.
Eddie Alvarez, go ahead, Daniel.
Well. I mean, Eddie Alvarez, he's been around for a long time, and I know we all picked against him. But, man, he lit him up. I mean, I'm surprised that Herb didn't step in just a little bit tad earlier. But obviously, he thought that he was safe again. Like I always say, if you're not in the cage and you're not there in person, you don't know what he's thinking or whether the fight should have been or shouldn't have been stopped. But, man, that was a fight to happen. And I'm pretty sure we'll see a number 2 on this one, I think. I think Rafael would want to get his revenge and try to get back for that title again. Yeah. So for me, it was a great fight, great main event, and good start to the UFC 3-dayer.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would happen straight away, or even after maybe one fight. I think because of the beating that Alvarez put on him, there's too many in that division to kind of.
It's Murderer's Row.
It's Murderer's Row. There's too many there in line, and you even have Will Brooks there, who Potentially Connor. You have some great fights there. So we all went against him, and Alvarez looked absolutely amazing. He landed the same right hand 3 times, and RDA made no adjustments. He just kept landing it. And then the finish, he landed a flying knee. I thought he messed it up. He landed on the bottom. But RDA was out on his feet, got straight back up and finished him off. I think we all underrate Eddie Alvarez. I think that's safe to say.
Nah, he's still dog shit. I'll stick by what I said.
No, do you know what it was? It's not that we underestimate him. Since he's came into the UFC, he's adapted a different style.
Yeah.
Well, he let that go on Thursday night. Yeah, he let that go on Thursday night. So he completely went back to the old underground Eddie Alvarez style, and he looked fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
First thing I said, Rob watched me watching it in work because I didn't watch it live. And first thing I said, I'm liking these leg kicks. He was opening up with beautiful leg kicks, and it just set the pattern for the fight. We have 10 seconds on the clock. I'm just putting it out there. RDA looked a lot skinnier and not as muscular. I'm just saying, muscular. He looked like a bobblehead.
Steroids. He's saying steroids. That's what it means.
Everybody's on steroids.
Everybody's on steroids.
Okay, so then we jump on to a different event. We're going to go on to the tough finale. So let's just talk about the one that everyone wants to talk about. Joanna gets the victory over Claudia in the grudge match. I called Claudia. You went Joanna. You went Claudia as well, Dan.
Yes, sir.
So this is a fight that I can't really talk about because I still haven't got around to watching it. Yeah. So go ahead, gentlemen. Your 2 minutes is on the way.
Our breakdown was perfect, pretty much. We said that Claudia would come out aggressive, but she'd tire. And that Joanna would take advantage of her over the course of 5 rounds, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
There's no if, buts, or maybes about it, but I'm class.
For every one that we get wrong, we get one right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I had a feeling that's what was going to happen. The first fight wasn't that long ago in terms of how many fights these two girls have had. Claudia has had 1. Joanna has had 3, I think. So they've made improvements, and I thought just the improvements that Joanna could make would be enough to beat Claudia, because Claudia, as I said in the show, she's a good striker when she has a full gas tank. When she doesn't, she drops her hands, and Joanna's always going to be loose. So once Joanna got loose and once Claudia started to slow down, just there was she had nothing for her. The takedowns in the first and the second were really, really good. But to do that for 5 rounds is just very difficult.
It's a serious pace.
You need to have Cain Velasquez gas.
Yeah.
And that's not and sea level.
But also, don't you think like Claudia? Like I didn't realize until seeing them both, obviously in the cage. She looks huge.
Yeah.
She's like she must carry the lactic acid in her body. It must have been booming, man. Because like Joanna, let's give credit where credit's due. She overcame some bad punishment, and she grinded through it. And she found a way to grind through it and to get the win. And in her jabs, jab, that shot is so underestimated in MMA. It's unbelievable. The way she was just throwing that jab and setting other shots up was fantastic.
Yeah, she's one of the best strikers in the UFC, in my opinion.
For every one punch that Claudia threw, Joanna was tagging her 2 or 3 times.
I am surprised also that she didn't put Claudia away sooner than that. Like maybe in the end of third, possibly
Claudia's
fourth.
Tough.
So, but both of them, credit where credit's due. Both of them tough fuckers, man. And I could see maybe depending on how Claudia does, how many winning streaks she gets, and if Joanna's still the champion, might get another shot.
All right, shut down. Time's up.
Right, time's up. Then the next fight I'm gonna pick just for dance here and rub the salt in the British wounds. Will Brooks defeats Ross Pearson by unanimous decision. So, what did we think of that fight, gentlemen?
If that fight had been 5 rounds, Will Brooks was in trouble. That 3rd round, he was starting to lose.
Yeah.
I think he was starting to gas. I know he took the fight on short notice, and we highlighted it last week about Ross Pearson, his grittiness, determination to win, and the fact that you very rarely see him tired. Those first 2 rounds, Will Brooks won them. Robert, you said you thought he'd blow him out of the water. He didn't quite do that, but he definitely won the rounds.
Them.
Yeah, he definitely won the rounds. The 3rd round was a hell of a lot closer.
Yeah, it was close.
And did they do 29-28 on the scorecards? I can't remember. Or did they give them all 3 rounds?
I think there was, 29-28,
Yeah, so you can imagine if that had been a 5-round fight, with the way Brooks was fading, that potentially Ross Pearson was going to take control of that fight.
Yeah.
But it was 3 rounds and Brooks gets the win.
Yeah, Ross is tough. We said that Will just have too many tools, but as you said, once he gassed, Ross started coming on strong. I thought Will looked good. It's not going to be a performance that the casual fans are going to look at and say, oh, this guy definitely deserves a title shot. But I think it's a good step because the first fight in the UFC, there's plenty of guys like Alvarez and plenty of other guys who came in who didn't look that good and who lost. And Ross, again, I think some people underrated him going into this fight because I think he's a very, very good fighter. But I think it was a good performance from Will. It's 3rd round, a little bit shaky. If it was 5 rounds, I would have went for to Ross to get it finished. But he's getting married now, I think, next week. So nice win for him, just getting married. And I can't wait to see his next fight because I think he did look good, especially in the 1st and 2nd round.
Yeah, I thought it was that. I thought Will Brooks, he had the adrenaline dump in the 3rd round. That's when Ross Pearson sort of came more into the fight. We did speak about it, that Ross Pearson is a bit of a gatekeeper of that division as well. If you can beat Ross Pearson, you're doing good. Dan, quickly, if you have seconds, if you want to say something. No,
that's it. I didn't watch the fight, so thank you very much, gents. For
okay, and just I'm gonna shout out one last fight. We won't give it the 2 minutes because we won't go into full detail on it because I know Mr. Movaheady has guests
carry on.
arriving. So a great victory for Du Ho Cho. Am I saying that right?
Du Ho Cho.
Du Ho Cho, I'm saying it my way again, against Thiago Tavares. Gets the victory after 2:42 in round number 1 and looked phenomenal doing it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Huge.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Nice. We were saying it last week about how, he's probably the fighter in Asia that could give mixed martial arts a name. Like, you can see why he's exciting, for someone that he doesn't look like he carries a lot of power because he's quite slender. He is very up and down. He doesn't have like the traditional wide shoulders you'd expect with somebody to carry power.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, was dynamite in his fist.
Yeah, like when I was listening back to our breakdown of it, I kind of felt bad because we gave Thiago Tavares not much of a chance. We were like, oh, he's going to blow him out the water.
Either the Chow.
Yeah, either the Chow, yeah. But Chow just looked amazing. Like, I can't get over how good he is on the feet. Yeah. And even when he got taken down, he was calm down there. He done all the right things to get back to his feet. Once he got back to his feet, he made him pay.
Similar to Conor.
Yeah, similar to Conor. Yeah, he does remind me in ways of Conor when he came in. I don't know, it's that division, I think he's going to be a serious contender in that division in his next couple of fights. I really do.
Paul Scurry was saying that Doo Hai Choi was his new favourite
fighter.
So
yeah, not surprising. He's exciting, but as he said, he's technical and he's wild at the same time.
And then just coming out of the few fights this weekend, we have a couple of fight announcements, potential announcements. I don't know if they've been made official, but Michael Bisping, Dan Henderson, and you called this, Dan, a couple of weeks back. Feels like months ago when you were on the show last. But you called this when you said that it'll be Dan Henderson and it'll be in the UK or Manchester. So credit to you. It sounds like you got this one correct. But what do we think of that matchup, Rob? You were going on about this being fairy tales, and I was like, the UFC aren't in the fairy tale business.
Apparently they are.
They've just signed with.
But listen, look at what we just saw. I mean, we're not going to look at it, but look at who Cormier just fought.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So of course, like you said, they like giving these matchups, don't they? They like. They know the matchup's got to happen. And it'll be a fantastic fight. I think it's definitely a ticket. The one I'll be buying a ticket for if I'm not refereeing there.
Yeah, looking for a job. Come on, Dana, sign him up. Dana, sign him up.
Hashtag sign Mo Heady.
I was big time hashtag. Everybody loves a hashtag. Hashtag UFC Mo Heady.
Everybody loves hash too.
You guys crack me up.
What I was actually watching Beyond the Octagon with with what's his name, Gareth Davis, and he was doing an interview with Michael Bisping in Old Trafford, to Theatre of Dreams, and Bisping was talking about, but when he was going to fight Rockhold, that his wife had sort of said to him, win or lose, maybe it's time to think about retiring, and he basically turned around and said, look, if I win the belt, I'm not retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting though that his wife, like he's saying, he wouldn't be where he is without his wife, and the old analogy behind every great man is a great woman, so he puts that to her, that he wouldn't be where he is without the support of his wife. But it's interesting that conversation is in the Bisping household. It's not something that inspires.
The Dan Henderson household as well.
Yeah, well.
I never knew how much pegging was involved in fighters' personal lives. Women behind men and all that jazz. And I'm into that.
Carl strikes again. But for me, I done the whole, it's not a fairy tale. They don't do fairy tales, because if Dan Henderson win, he said he's going to have one or two more fights. So if he wins, he has to defend the belt or whatever. So it is the UFC, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's the UFC giving Bisping his Diaz fight, if you know what I mean. McGregor getting his chance of
I don't really like it, to be honest. Personally, I think like Dan Henderson, I'm a big fan of him. Like, he's been around forever, and I'm not going to say that I don't want him to get a title shot personally, but I think there's so many guys in that division, especially Jacare, who really does deserve a shot ahead of Dan Henderson.
Did you see his tweet today?
No.
Jacare's?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was something along the lines of, I respect that Dan Henderson, I respect him what he's done in the sport, but why should he get the title shot when I've done the work, or something like that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. If I was Jacare, I'd be pissed off, to be honest, because he really does deserve the title shot. Even before Michael Bisping, I think he deserved the title shot. I understand the reason why Michael Bisping got it was short notice and Jacare couldn't take it. But why not give it to Jacare? I understand as well that Dan Henderson, that's a sellable fight. Especially Dan seems to be looking forward to it. Like, I'm looking forward to actually seeing the fight, because funny enough, not that I don't want not that I want Dan Henderson to be in the fight, he still can win it. Dan Henderson still has that big hand, and he can win it, and we've seen that he's done it before. But I don't agree with the fight itself for sport.
Now, I don't want to speak ill of people who have passed, but you were a man who was amped for the Kimbo Slice fight.
Wasn't amped for the
Kimbo Slice fight. I'd watch it. It's going to be entertaining.
Yeah,
that's what I said. I'd watch the Dan Henderson fight.
Such a contradiction.
That's not a contradiction.
That
isn't a contradiction.
Hypocrisy, sir.
No, I go ahead.
Who wins? Your quick, Dan. Did you see Hendo getting the bomb again, or did you see Bisping pulling out the win? Never lost on UK soil, correct? Bisping
lost to Hamill. Not the judges' scorecards.
Completely froze. What the fuck, Dan? You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, he's completely froze on us.
He's just doing that.
Did I? Oh, sorry.
John, it was, you were scratching your heel there, and you were getting your sex face on.
How did you not scratching my heel?
Because it's either that or you're doing something else, pal.
Yeah.
Because you had that sex look on your face. You only get that when something's happening or you're scratching an itch.
Did you see Anderson Silva kind of put his name into the hat as well?
Yeah.
Did you watch the post-fight presser from
I watched
200?
bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
Silva said that he'd like to get the fight with Bisping
Yeah.
as well. Obviously the rematch because he doesn't think he lost to him, but he doesn't want to stand in Jacare's way because he's a good friend. So
Yeah.
he
Respect.
kind of has his name in there, I suppose.
Well, you see, with the greatest respect to Michael Bisping, I mean, I like Bisping. I'm definitely team Bisping, right? But the greatest respect to him, he's probably getting more call-outs than any champion ever has previous because everybody thinks he's not worthy of the belt.
Exactly.
So they all
That is
think, I
true.
beat the brakes off him, so I want the belt. So they're all calling for it. So fucking GSP is willing to move up a fucking weight class to do it. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't fought since 1932.
And if you ask me, they're all making the same mistake that Luke Rockhold made.
Yeah.
They're underestimating Michael Bisping. He's a dangerous man. Don't
Yeah,
do
very
that
dangerous,
to
yeah.
Bisping. Don't do it. He's fucking dangerous.
And then other news that broke as well then was that Penny, after beating Sagano last night, basically was saying, yeah, I'm next in a row. I'm technically 7-0 in the UFC because of the tough. So yeah, that fight looks like it's going to happen as well against Amanda Nunes, the new champion. But yeah, it was certainly, we're going to break down UFC 200 in depth now a little bit as well. But other news this week was yourself, Dan. You were on duty in Cage Warriors 77, was it?
Yes, sir.
Jeez, I pulled that out of the bag, didn't I? But yeah, how did that go? We know a certain Scouser who was having a little bit of an argument with Dylan Tuke was fighting at the weekend. And then Airman Johnny Jitsu stepped in on short notice and oosed the fuck
just getting
out of
on.
a bloke.
He was just getting on.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, yeah, like I got a phone call to referee on Cage Warriors, which was good. I'm grateful for that. And great exposure for myself. It was obviously live on UFC Fight Pass and BT Sport. Yeah, I mean the fights were good. I was lucky enough to referee some good fights, but let's just get on to your guy John Redmond. Man, beast, both of them. I mean the guy he beat, Modestas, he was no slouch. But man, they went hammer and tongs, and it was just a matter of who landed first and who was going to fold first. And, to John Redmond's credit, he landed out, I think it was a right hand. I think it was a straight right.
Yeah, I think so.
I was sitting cage side, so, yeah, it was a good fight.
I think he put him out with the first shot of the follow-up, though, wasn't he? When he hit the ground, he followed with a beautiful shot as well and put him out.
Look, when from what it looked like from where I was sitting, when John hit him, he was out. And when he hit the floor, he came to, then he finished it off on the ground. And obviously the referee, Rich Mitchell, had to step in and stop the fight. But yeah, it was a good fight. A
big win for Johnny because Johnny was confirmed to fight over here on a show, Cage Legacy, and he stepped in a short notice. He was on set at the Vikings when he accepted the fight. So delighted for Johnny, former guest. We call it the obviously Fight Talk effect. You come on this show, you win fights. Fact.
But I like what he said in his interview. That he was like, "Look, let me just say something. Records are for DJs and the cages are for fighters." And it's true, man. Like I've said it before.
Very nice.
Record don't mean nothing as long as you turn up and put on a good fight. And what a platform to put a good fight on as well. Because you guarantee that people were watching that fight, especially on UFC Fight Pass, leading up right before the Ultimate Fighter finale. So people were watching that, and I reckon he'll make big waves.
I'm right in saying as well, Johnny's been confirmed for BAM on the 10th of September. Yeah. So Johnny's got he's lining the fights up.
Very active, isn't he?
Yeah.
Very active.
Yeah, no, he looked good. But as well, Dan, you were involved a couple of weeks ago in Wims the Warrior as well. We were meant to have you on, so we haven't spoken in so long. So I know a good friend of yours and Brian was fighting on it, and we were looking to have Brian on as well, the show. So Brian Lacey will come on to us. We just have to sort out our little glitches here with our setup. But you're keeping busy, me man. You're knocking the house down. You've rebuilt it. You're having barbecues, and it's looking well, me man.
Got to get you guys over here.
Yeah, you pay the flights, brother. We're there.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean? I thought
first class.
The new sponsors are paying the flights, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
The new sponsor. We've a new sponsor coming in and going to fly Dan over every weekend to get us in. The only thing is, if we do fly over every weekend, you're going to have to get Helen to write your picks out for you first before you come over. Right, so gentlemen,
to the living room, you see the big board with with all my fight picks on it.
So we'll move into it now. Dan, I don't know, are you free to go on, or do you want to?
I'm good to go on, buddy. I'm good to go on. Give me now. I'll have another 20 minutes with you guys.
Cool. So we're going to move on. Let's break it down, lads. This card has been built for an eternity. Since it was coming, it fall down, it broke down, it upset us. Before we actually go into it, 2 days before it was about to start, John Jones was a fan of something. He was a fan of something that enhanced himself. He's tested for something. The B example, I should say, B for Bravo.
Apparently, he popped for 2 things.
2 things.
Dana White said 2 things.
Ooh.
I believe on ESPN, if I'm wrong, or Fox maybe. One of them.
Yeah.
So John Jones was removed from it. So all their picks went out the window in that sense with John Jones. But Anderson Silva showed balls of steel by taking a fight against DC on 2 days' notice. But I honestly want to give this card the respect that it should do, so I'm going to jump straight in. We don't have to spend huge amount, just give your opinions on them. Jim Miller taking on Takanori Gomi in the first bout, getting the win, looking fantastic doing it as well. Did we watch all the prelims? Did you just get everything in?
Yeah,
Watched
everything,
all
yeah.
of them, watch all of them.
Jim Miller looked like he was doing a bit of a share and turning back time. All right, it was he looked very good in there.
He did. He looked absolutely phenomenal. You know, I think unfortunately, I said it to you last night, Robert, it's probably the end of Takanori Gomi in the UFC.
I think so,
I
yeah.
doubt we'll see him again, but he's been very inactive over the past few years anyway. But Jim, like, Gomi's still very dangerous, and to do what Jim Miller done, like, he went in and like knocked him silly, you know, in a couple of seconds. Like, very, very good performance from Jim Miller. I'm chuffed to bits from him. I love Jim, so.
Yeah, even though it was the prelims, it's a big platform for Jim and got himself back out there. I think a lot of people were talking about him after as well. I think a ton of people very impressed.
See, he said he was thinking about retirement because he had Lyme's disease.
Yeah, seeing that, yeah. But yeah, there's not too much to say. It was just a quick finish. Very happy for him. Obviously, I think we all went with Jim Miller.
Yeah,
to
we
win
did,
it.
yeah.
I think since Gomi's made a transition to Pride, he hasn't impressed me. I know he's had a couple of wins on UFC, but he's not the same, the fire kid, you know, as everyone says he is. I personally don't think so. And I don't know where he would go from here. Or is he, like you said, another name, another gatekeeper that, you know, they'll fight him. Hey, if you can get past him, you know, you get into the rankings. But he's not even in the rankings, is he?
Yeah, no. I think if you want to see the best of Gomi, go back and watch Pride. I think that's his best days. And, you know, to be fair, that's
Here's
not...
my Pride conspiracy again.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's not an insult. You know, he was younger. That's when he was in his prime.
Yeah.
When he was in Pride, that was his complete prime. He dominated over there. Again, if you want to say that there was some shenanigans over there, it could be, but he competed with some very good guys over there.
He was also fighting at home in Japan.
Exactly, yeah, and there is plenty of people and plenty of fighters who say that that's rough going to America from Japan and vice versa. So,
I just want to point out as well, I thought it was quite funny when Joe Rogan was trying to interview Jim Miller and the two mics weren't working. And Joe Rogan's such a pro. Like, people are booing on. He was having a laugh. Before we go any further, what did you think of the yellow canvas?
The fucking stupid looking.
Yeah.
It hurt my eyes. I didn't like it.
No, I didn't like it. I was the same, Dan. I found I was squinting at it a lot.
Yeah.
For me, watching the television, I found I was squinting.
Yeah, for me, the first time I seen it, I was like, "Oh Jesus, that's distracting."
Yeah.
Eventually, I kind of just blanked it out.
Yeah.
But that's not really a good thing either.
No,
but it looked very
I
strange.
love the curtain thing though.
The curtain thing was deadly. Yeah,
Did you see that, Dan? It was like a curtain fella over at either side of the octagon. They were like projecting a video up onto it. It was cool.
Okay. Only the last time I saw a cage that yellow was when Cage Rage Day.
Cage Rage, yeah.
People were calling for Anderson to throw that back elbow like he did in Cage Rage.
He tried it.
Yeah, he did.
Moving on, next Friday evening, Gegard Mousasi does what I says he should do all the time, just turn up and win. Thiago Santos, looked phenomenal in there, landed some lovely shots, picking his shots nicely. Santos was trying to get up off the ground and he caught him with a get the fuck back down uppercut.
Get out of my garden.
Proper, get out of that garden. But Santos was 4-0 in the UFC to that point, wasn't he? He was on a 4-5 win streak, and then he got Mousasi. Mousasi looked great. Fighting early in the card was weird for seeing the names we're mentioning here. But Mousasi looked everything he threw with accuracy.
Yeah, it was a lovely flurry that he landed initially, and then they hit the ground, and then when he got back up and he landed that big shot to drop him out, Santos was out completely. Gegard looked great. I think it's interesting.
Stop using my word.
Yeah, stop using the interesting word. I think it's interesting that I couldn't think of a different word to say.
Essentially,
that Gegard's talking about, you know, running out his UFC contract and then going free agency, or he said he wants to re-sign with the UFC, saying that he doesn't think he's going to get a title shot anytime soon. He's kind of relinquished, or he doesn't have expectations of getting one. I think that's interesting that he's publicly coming out and saying that.
It's also strange. Alan Murphy, who we had on the show, he put out a tweet last night of all of Gegard Mousasi's like credentials,
Yeah.
and like it was a fucking long list, like a dream, like light heavyweight champion, loads of them, and then he's like, and he's still only 30.
Yeah.
Like I forget how
crazy.
young Gegard actually is.
Yeah,
you
but
know what I mean?
as well, when you look at, like, I agree with that, like, that
Yeah.
he's only like that he's young and he's still young, but there's age and then there's fight age.
Yeah.
That's very true.
You know?
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point.
I think I don't think he should go free agent. I think he'll start after this, especially the performance he put. On this fight, he'll start getting bigger names. A lot of people going, oh, he was on the undercard, etc. UFC 200, there was no undercard.
No, there wasn't.
No,
It was just
Not
a
one
fight
bit.
card. There's no undercard. There's no prelims or anything like that. That there was just a full card. But yeah, I like to see Gerard getting the title shot. But how soon it would come?
Yeah.
If anyone's,
Yeah, like
it's as good as mine.
his rationale was like, if they do the Dan Henderson fight, that's one. Then Jacare is probably up next.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when you have a close fight, you probably have some rematches in there. Luke
Yeah, but
Rockhold will be ahead of him.
The good thing with Mousasi done though is sometimes Mousasi can be guilty of etching out boring fights, and then there's times he comes in and he does that. He
Yeah.
needs to do that more.
True.
You show up like a
Better.
stone cold
Easier
killer,
said
and
than
that's
done,
like,
I
yeah,
suppose.
no, I know, but you show up like a stone cold killer and do that and walk away, nice one, you're getting
Which he
noticed.
is. He's extremely talented. I think a lot of people underrate him because of sometimes he goes out and just puts on a professional performance. I'd call it. Just goes out,
But
gets
he
the
doesn't
win.
speak out, or he doesn't. He's real laid
No.
back. He's like
Yeah.
a stoned Fedor.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
good
so
stuff.
it was a stunning victory again by Mousasi. Moving on then to the main event on the Fight Pass exclusive prelims was Joe Lozon taking on Diego Sanchez. Now, what I loved about this was at the weigh-ins, Diego was shouting at Lozon, I'm a nightmare, and Lozon was just breaking his bollocks, laughing at him, going,
Yeah.
all right, mate, yeah, grand, yeah, nice one, calm down.
Yeah.
Did you see the interview with Diego Sanchez?
I feel fantastic.
Go to the camera right now.
I feel fantastic. Like, you
The
fucking
guy's in
weirdo.
that case, man.
That dude's
honestly.
playing intense. It's
He's
Proper.
hilarious.
He's imagine like he's the bloke that if you're going on public transport and he gets on the bus, you go, oh, don't sit beside me, don't sit beside me,
Yeah,
don't sit
yeah,
beside
yeah.
me. Yeah, proper. But then onto the fight, Joe Lozon came out and every shot he landed,
tagged
his shot selection and delivery of his shots were phenomenal. Even when he got him up against the cage and was sort of throwing elbows at him, he was kneeling down at one stage throwing elbows at him, landing bombs of uppercuts, looking at the referee to go,
Yeah.
you stopping this or what, pal?
Yeah.
Knocks out Diego's gum shields, follows him around, and that's what I love about Joe Lozon. As much as he was in a fight, he's looking at the ref to go, right, this guy's done here. Do you really want me to keep hitting him?
Yeah.
And, eventually the referee stepped in as he should have. But Joe Lozon, his shot selection, his display, and we were worried. We were saying if this becomes a brawl, I worry for Joe Lozon in this fight. I'd like to see him get it to the ground. Diego Sanchez has never been stopped in the UFC or never been submitted. And Joe Lozon, I don't know.
Apart from BJ Penn.
Well, that was cuts.
Yeah.
But he was never actually.
Yeah, never
Yeah.
put out, yeah.
So Joe Lozon, I don't know if he got a fight bonus last night because he would have went number one, I think, for
Yeah.
the bonuses. But Joe Lozon just looked phenomenal. I love Joe Lozon, as you can tell.
I think he
But-
did get. I think he did get a fight bonus, 50 Gs.
Yeah,
It was just, when you look at it, like, a lot of fighters are perfectionists and they'll go back and look and go, I could have done this better, I don't think Joe Lozon has to look at that fight and say, I should have done this better, because he just looked. That's one of the best versions of Joe Lozon I've seen.
But the first type of fighter he is, he will go back and he will go,
Yeah.
I need to work on this, I need to work on that. But Diego Sanchez, man, you got to think, how long has he been in this game for? Since, Ultimate Fighter Season 1. He's been there, and he hasn't been in any easy fights. He's always been in dog wars, man. You got to think at some point. I mean, there's talks about him, that he should retire 2 years ago. To me personally, when you do an interview with him, he sounds punch drunk. Sorry to say it, he sounds punch drunk. Maybe it's time for him to, again, he'll only know this when it's time for him to retire. But it's not a bad fight to retire off of. Against especially like Joe Lozon.
Yeah.
It's not a bad time to maybe go. You know what? I'm done. He's done enough for this sport, and he can hold his head high. He's done very well.
After last night, he became the number one fighter with the most absorbed strikes ever in the UFC.
Absorbed.
Absorbed.
Yeah, that's not a stat you
Diego
want.
Sanchez. Yeah, so I don't like calling for fighters to retire. I always say that. I don't. It's up to them. If they want to retire, they want to retire. But
Sure, Dan Healy here will chip in with something.
But at a certain point, I would say that I'm not interested in watching these guys fight anymore.
Yeah.
Just personally, from a personal perspective, I'm not sure if I'm there with Diego Sanchez yet, but I'm definitely very close because he's taken a hell of a lot of damage over the years. A hell of a lot of damage.
Well, I was watching this last night and I was looking at the card and I said it to Wendy as we were watching. I says, I'm so excited for this card. It's so stacked, but yet there's so many fighters on this card that if they get a loss tonight, this could be it. This could be their walking papers, or it's time to go. So, Carl, you're being very quiet, and I'm just, what's happening is...
I'm trying to find the name of the referee for that fight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair, that referee deserves to be criticised, but I hate criticising the referee.
But I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm trying to find.
No, but he was poor. Well, you do your research there, and we'll move on. So your next fight of the evening, seeing Barbie taking on Sage Northcote.
Mark Smith.
Bobby.
Was it Mark Smith?
Mark's, I don't know. So Sage Northcote taking on Enrique I Can Be Your Hero Marin. This was the big fight for Sage coming back. And he looked like, I thought it was going to be a stand-up fight. And Sage Northcote was the one that was trying to get it to the ground and work on the ground.
Yeah.
He got into some good positions, but just through inexperience and
made a lot of mistakes.
Probably excitement in this. He was losing positions. He was giving away positions. Marin got a beautiful, what looked like an armbar. He didn't look like he had it cinched up to the extent that it was going to pop at any stage. It was close, but you got to give it. For all the stick that Sage Northcote got about the quick tap the last time, he muscled through it and fought through it.
Also, apparently he came into that fight with a bout of staph infection a couple of weeks before.
Who, Sage?
Yeah. It was
he also went into the last fight with strep throat.
Yeah, it was just reported before we came in. I didn't get to read the article, but apparently he had it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But no, I thought Sage, it was weird seeing him because he looked like when they were on their feet, Sage looked like he had the better of it in the first round, and then he started going for the takedown. I was going, why the fuck? It was almost like he was doing it to show, hey, look, I can do this.
Yeah, maybe
but he couldn't.
No.
Yeah, but you have to think we think of Sage Northcote because he's such a big name that he might have a lot of fights in the sport. He doesn't.
Oh, and breaking news,
he's 20.
Sage Northcote is 20.
Yeah. I checked the last night.
Yeah, Carl, remember the episode? I was away down in Thailand and the lads were talking about Sage Northcote, and I think I counted 57 times that they said he's a kid, he's only 19, but he's officially 20 now. My brother texted me last night as the fights were going on saying, Sage Northcote's 20. Look, I think this was a good fight from personally. I think he didn't win the fight.
I thought it was a draw.
I didn't think he won the fight.
I believe it was the second round where he was put into all sorts of fucking submissions. That, to me, that's a 10-8 round, you're like kind of wincing now. Like, the way you have to put it into perspective, like, if you have to have a 10-8 round in striking, it's when somebody is being knocked all over the ring and somehow they survive. That's the equivalent to that with submissions.
No, but submissions, my only argument is that Marin didn't set the submission up, switch his hips or throw up the armbar and get it. Sage Northcote rolled into every submission. It's like, here's my arm out, there it is. No, I know, but I don't think he set it up. I don't think it's a 10-8. I know what you're saying, but I don't think he dominated him on the ground. The two of them are just scrambling like two hamsters trying to get a fucking biscuit.
So that's like saying if two fighters collide with a clash of heads and one gets rocked, the other one doesn't, but then the one that's rocked, the other fighter takes advantage of that, but because he didn't set it up, it's not a 10-8.
No, well, the ground game is very different though. You can't say one is the same as the other with setups.
I don't think it was a 10-8. If the armbar.
By the way, a unified referee in Europe agrees with me.
Well,
I'm just giving my opinion, man. I don't think it was a 10-8 on the basis that if it was a triangle choke or something like that, and he stayed there for the whole round, and he was throwing elbows from the bottom, throwing the shots, and Sage didn't improve his position, then quite possibly could have been a 10-8. But as far as just wanted to say this, that with the whole submission thing, don't you think with the armbar, him not giving up on the Kimura, it was again, hey, I want to prove a point that I'm not going to tap, or I'm not going to submit to this submission, because that armbar, I think any other person quite possibly would have tapped from that.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was something dislocated or broke or some torn ligaments or something.
My thing is, I thought watching it now when Enrique had the Kimura set up, I just think he didn't go for it enough. I was there, he was in the position, he had the arm, he just didn't wrench
he was
enough.
Afraid to lose position, I'm sure.
Fuck that, crank the fuck out of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to take his arm off.
I don't know, like, I have to rewatch it.
As soon as the Kimura was set up. He had it, and he had it in position. He had it right up behind his back. I was like, yep, this is over. I'm like, well, it was almost like, don't get me wrong, it's not what you want to see because it is a sport. Like, you know what I mean? It was almost like he didn't want to go any further because he knew he was going to either pop the arm or something. And it was like, I don't know, it could be wrong, but you know, in that position, your dexterity, you don't have strength there.
Anything there, yeah.
So Norco, it's not like he was
freak
it's
strength.
not like he was fighting that off with like I don't know, bicep strength. You know what I mean? It was just, to me, it looked like Maron just didn't, you know, step it on. Yeah. But anyway, you got to give credit to Norco. And
Maron looked decent, yeah.
So it was all right. So moving on, you had TJ Dillashaw, your former champion, taking on Rafael Sancho. This was pretty, wasn't it? This was the mover against the flat-footed striker. Dillashaw looked good. He got caught once or twice in the fight, but apart from that, it's just his movement looked good. I was expecting that after fighting Cruz, when someone outmatches you with that, you expect them to get it passed on a little bit, and it seemed to go that way.
Yeah, I was quite impressed. I thought it was definitely a winnable fight for Dillashaw. I thought he should have been favourite, just as he was. Sunset took some time off, and it was the first fight back in a while. You kind of seen it. He did look good. Now, I'm not saying the Sunset looked bad, but Dillashaw's movement was way
every time
much.
he landed a shot, he was out of the way. He was stepping off to an angle. So as the Sunshine was trying to counter, Dillashaw wasn't there.
Yeah,
and you could see him getting frustrated with it constantly.
And even the first fight, I said it last week that I thought Dillashaw actually won it. And I don't think really Sunshine made any improvements since then. I think he's the same fighter, very good fighter, but I think the same fighter. Where Dillashaw has leaps and bounds improvements, absolutely a great fighter now. I think he's definitely number 2 in the division. It's interesting to see if they'll do that Dominic Cruz fight again. You have also Uriah's me, Cody Garbrandt up there, who that'll be an interesting fight to see because Garbrandt has some good hands. It'd be interesting to see if he could actually counter him with TJ's movement because he does come in and he is open to shots. So I'd like to see that fight as well. The bantamweight division, at first it was very thin, but it's turned into one of the best divisions in the UFC.
Yeah.
Bold statement. I think there's only a couple at the top.
One of the best, most exciting divisions.
Yeah,
in the UFC,
well, it's the speed, isn't it? And see, the thing that Dillashaw has as well, he has the knockout power off his shots. You know what I mean? So that's there as well. Yeah. Jumping on, I want to move up the card quickly. We've Kevin Gastelum. That was the best Kevin Gastelum I've seen. His movement was phenomenal. And I just think Johnny Hendricks is just not Johnny Hendricks anymore.
Done. I personally think Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah, I think this was another one of the guys that I was saying will be removed. I think Johnny Hendricks is gone. He just doesn't look to want to be there. Or you could hear his corner screaming, "Come on, Big Rig, let them go, let them go, let them go." And for the will of maybe not wanting to or just being afraid of count, he just couldn't get off.
Missed weight as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like Hendricks has had a problem with this in the past. Like, to be honest with you, his career has just gone down the absolute swanny. He's looking terrible. He actually looks terrible.
I said it to you last night. I wonder if he's one of them guys who gets to the top and he's there and he's comfortable and then he loses and he just can't just get that desire to get back because I
think it's that, and I also think that maybe, you know, USADA testing has something to do with it. I said that to you last night, Robert, and you kind of scoffed at me, and I was like, no, let's be honest here. Like, fair enough, you know, when you lost a title or whatever, it was after some wars with Robbie and stuff as well, but I think there's more to question there, you know what I mean? Like,
he doesn't look the same build of a man.
He just doesn't look the same. Like, he just doesn't.
But also, don't you think, you know, like you said, since he's lost the whole, you know, weight cutting issue, maybe his body's just telling him, dude, no more, man. Or he hasn't found the correct way of doing it.
He looks strained. Like, the man looks like he needs to go to bed.
Yeah, but I don't understand why he doesn't do the weight cutting, do a trial, like as if do it. You know, I think GSP done a fight camp, didn't he?
Yeah,
do a trial fight camp, prepare, see how your weight cut goes, as if you're preparing for a fight, and see if you can weigh in. And, you know, give yourself a mock test. But again, he's not the same, and you know, maybe it is time for him just to, you know, call it quits. You know, he can still say that he was the world champion. You know, he's fought on the best event in the world. Just sometimes it's not meant to be, and so it's, again, like I know you said, Rob, you don't like telling fighters when to retire. I'm not saying anyone should retire, but he's also got to have a realistic team, his family, etc., giving him a proper talk and saying, look, maybe you need either time off to work for it and get yourself back on, you know, back in the game, or just maybe
try middleweight.
Well, I was looking. Apparently, he said he's sick of Vegas, and he was saying something about, you know, he's he's done with fighting in Vegas or something along them
What's
lines.
Vegas got to do with it?
Yeah, I just think, you know, it could be the whole he's done, you know.
Yeah.
Now, as much as we're going on about Johnny Hendricks looking terrible, I thought Kevin Gastelum looked phenomenal. His movement was great.
Yes.
Again, his shot selection was beautiful. He was doing lovely 1-2s and 2-3s
Yeah.
shots, picking Hendricks apart.
Looked very loose, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get Hendricks out of there at one stage. He was landing some big shots. So Gastelum looked phenomenal. Again, Gastelum's only 24 years of age or something. He's only young, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
young, and he's beating a former champion. I know we're just saying it's not the same type of guy, but it's still it's
also
former champion.
It's also having the balls to do it. You
Yeah.
know,
He's hungry, though.
Yeah, it's having the balls to take on a former champion and then to go on and beat him.
Yeah, and he also stood right in front of Johnny Hendricks at some points. He done well getting in and out, but at times he stood right in the pocket, and that's when Hendricks was actually landing. There was a couple of shots where I was like, oh, jeez, Hendricks might actually land something big here. But Gastelum took it. He has a hell of a chin on him, and he's definitely one to watch, I think, Gastelum.
But Gastelum's he's got a goal, hasn't he? He's got a drive. I'm not saying Hendricks doesn't, but look when Gastelum missed weight a couple of events ago, wasn't it? He missed weight. I mean, he went back. He said, look, this is never going to happen again. I'm going to make sure I retune myself, make sure I'm okay. And he's done that, and ever since he's put on great performances, man. And it can only be healthy. And the whole weight cut thing, again, I'm sure we'll get onto the whole Misha Tate thing. I'm going to talk about that when we get onto that fight.
Yeah. I just think Kevin Gastelum, he's put himself in the top 5 bracket in the crazy division all of a sudden, and he really has. You know what I mean? It's a division of the who's who, and by beating Hendricks and such, like, it was a dominant unanimous decision. As much as he didn't get him out there, it was dominant. You were watching the fight, and never once did you go, Hendricks could catch him. Yeah. It just never looked that way. He looked just too comfortable for him.
At welterweight now, who would you give Gastelum next?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva, he's fighting anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
You know
Matt
what?
Brown
That would
has
be a good
Jake
fight.
Ellenberger.
That
So.
would be
Yeah,
a good
that's-
fight.
Maybe the winner of that one.
That's such a bad fight for Ellenberger.
Yeah.
I agree.
Another fighter on the slide. Move up.
Yeah.
Juliana Pena taking on Kat Zingano. I went with Zingano in this one. This was my this is where my pick starts slandering, going downhill on me. I thought Kat Zingano started the first round a lot the way I thought she would. Started well, controlled it, looked like the stronger fighter. But then, Rob, you said in your breakdown about it that Pena scrambling is what'll get winner this fight. Did you go with Zingano?
I didn't. I went with Zingano.
Yeah. But your breakdown was right. It was the scrambles, and then all of a sudden, after later in round 2, it was just the Pena show. She just took over and looked phenomenal. And just the whole third round basically just held Zingano in one position, working for the rear naked choke, and just basically just held her down. And a dominant performance by Pena, and you won't get an argument out of me over getting a title shot.
No. Yeah, Kat looked really dominant in the first. But the problem with Kat is she makes mistakes on the ground, and you just can't afford that. Even on the feet, she was looking a little bit sloppy, but she never was an amazing striker. She's a vicious striker, but never an amazingly technical fighter. But yeah, on the ground, she just makes way too many mistakes to be truly confident she can get it done, especially against someone like Pena, who once she gets on top, she's vicious.
Yep. Carl?
There's not much else to say, to be honest. Like, Pena, she done what you said, Robert, with the scrambles. You know, you were completely right there.
Still picked wrong, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, though. Like, yeah, you picked wrong, but it just shows your awareness of your fighter picks. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But, yeah, like, I just feel bad for Kat Zingano coming out of that fight, you know, because I like Kat. I'd be a big fan of Kat Zingano, so, yeah, I just feel bad for her. That's all, really. But, yeah, looking forward to see Pena fight Amanda Nunes. Should be a good fight.
Has that been confirmed?
Well, no, we've confirmed it tonight.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay. So you heard it here first.
Heard it here first, yeah. We move on to the main card then, and your former heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez taking on Travis Brown. We all went Velasquez here. And wow, were we right? He looked absolutely phenomenal. He mixed everything up. I was saying he'll try and close the distance, get in tight to Brown to take away that reach advantage and size advantage of Brown. He done that, but he dumped him on his arse. Then he backed away, landed some shots, thrown wheel kicks.
Yeah,
Cain Velasquez looked phenomenal last night.
Beautiful.
I wonder.
It was good. It was a good fight, man. Especially, I think we were talking before we came on the show Obviously, his surgeries, his back pains, etc., hasn't affected him. Like you said, he's throwing spinning kicks. And
Yeah.
I think he had a point. He wanted to prove a point as well. I can take this fight where I want to take it. I can do whatever I want to do. Unless, a bit around the bush. Travis Brown, he's tall motherfucker, and he's strong, and he's good at striking. But just Kane just seemed to fucking dominate. And I had a couple of people messaging me after, going, "Oh, do you think Big John should have stopped here with only 3 seconds to go, etc.?" Like I always say, man, the referee's not there to keep time. It doesn't matter if there's 10 seconds on the clapper or a whole minute, 2 minutes, etc. There to keep the fighter safe. And personally, I think it was a very good stoppage, and if anything, could have maybe even been stopped a tad bit earlier. So
to be fair,
give
Dan,
him every opportunity to do so.
To be fair, if you don't stop it there with 3 seconds left, and you have a full 5 minutes of a next round where that fighter could just take a beat.
Jacare, remember Jacare? The ref didn't stop. Not Jacare, Hector Lombard. Didn't stop it. Yeah. But damn funny, creepy out. I was thinking of you last night when that was happening, because I heard the 10-second clapper, and I was looking at Velasquez pounding, and I was thinking I'll get out of the round, and I was like, no, Dan was saying the referees never think of the time. So I was thinking of you there, and I thought it was a great stoppage. I don't think Brown curled up, and as much as you might say, he could have got there, Brown didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
no more.
This was vintage Cain Velasquez. Yeah. This is the Cain Velasquez that we wanted to see for a long time.
Cain Velasquez is the best heavyweight in the UFC.
When he wants to win it,
when he's fit, has a full training camp and does things correctly, I think without a doubt he's the best heavyweight in the division. I think if he can keep himself fit, and he is talking about now the way he's changed his routines, he's changed. He said he never used to stretch, which I find
warm up.
Yeah, he never used to warm up or so. He just jump into practice and jump into training. It sounds silly, and I know some guys it's just the way they are. They just have a certain routine that works for them, but that just sounds silly. But assuming he's doing everything correctly now. He's training with some of the best in the world. He's in there with Daniel Cormier, who could be a heavyweight. So it's a great combination between the two for both of them. But he just does everything perfectly, and I think even in a rematch with say Verdum or any other fights where he didn't look particularly great in, I think I'd have to pick him because.
They asked him about fighting in Mexico again when he fought, and he was like, "Yeah, but I'd move to Mexico for 2 months." Yeah. So straight away he's learned from that.
If he can make those adjustments, I think it's very difficult to pick against him against any heavyweight.
He also said in the post-fight press conference that it was the first time he's had a training camp actually coming into a fight where he had no little minor niggles or anything like that. We always know fighters go into a fight, probably carrying some sort of injury. Cain said that you come into this fight with
and it's a mad one because that's one of the questions we always ask when Cain Velasquez is coming in, and there seems to be no questions around it. Like you always hear, a bit of hearsay in the background, some news, and you hear people talking about Velasquez maybe not being fully there, but there wasn't any of that. So I hope that this is a sign to come. Because
but I think he's taken training with the likes of the silly thing there about warming up and stuff. I think he realises he has to look after his body.
Yeah.
Like
and be smarter.
You see, when you're such a big man like Cain Velasquez is, I think you're invincible in some ways. You know what I mean? And like injuries don't give a fuck if you're 115 pounds or 255 pounds.
But he is training smarter, and also I don't know if you know, like Charles Lewis Parry. He's training. He was in the camp. The Glory kickboxer. I've known him and I've been in contact with him, and he can vouch that both the guys had a good training camps, and he was brought out there to help them train. I mean, that guy used to be a former basketball player. I mean, so his height, being the same as like Travis Brown, would have helped for the preparation of the training camp. But again, Cain, like he said, he has to be smarter. He's gained, not older, but your body is, will say to you, look, man, you just had to come out of back surgery. We need to do stretches. We need to do this, etc. And and it paid off on the night, man. First round.
He looked phenomenal. Phenomenal, absolutely. Moving on then to the interim featherweight title between Jose Aldo Jr. taking on Frankie the Answer Edgar. I predicted that Jose would win this and he'd come back hungry and looking sharp. Everybody's going on about how amazing Jose Aldo looked last night. Yeah, I thought, he looked fit. He looked like he'd done a bit of cardio. He looked big. He looked bigger than he did when he fought Conor. I knew the determination was going to be there, the hunger. But I just think that was it. He was the bigger man fighting Frankie Edgar here. Didn't really throw leg kicks. I'll be interested to see, is there an injury there or something that he wasn't throwing kicks? So I was interested in that. And I just thought his movement, as much as, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he didn't fight well. He fought very smart. He was conservative in his energy. Jose is known for turning in the latter rounds, while Frankie is known to have this incredible gas tank. And I just think Jose was a lot more conservative. While Jose would normally attack in raids of combinations and flurries, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't as explosive in his attacks. He was more selective in his shots. So it was a good performance, but I don't think it was, as Joe Rogan said, the best Jose Aldo performance they've ever seen. I don't agree with
Joe
that.
Rogan is prone to do that.
Yeah. Joe Rogan can be very biased at times.
Everybody. I don't think it's biased. I think he's just selling them for the next fight.
I think everybody's biased.
Joe Rogan's. I think he's very in the moment. Like when he sees a fight, he'll immediately say, "Best fight I've ever seen." Yeah. He's just like that, and it's great. But it
was
makes
the best comment I've ever heard, Rob.
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
You, Joe Rogan. I thought it was a great performance by Jose Aldo. I know what you're saying, that he looked a little bit different. He didn't throw those flurrying strikes. But I think he showed a lot of improvements, especially in his counter strike. And I think going backwards, he landed the jab basically at will. Frankie's face was just completely torn up.
It was more, for me, that Jose was letting Frankie lead the dance and was just picking him off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the exciting fight I was expecting.
But I thought it was very impressive.
Well, to be fair, Noel, you and Robert pretty much got what you asked for. Last week, you both highlighted
defensive.
the fact that Jose Aldo fights defensively. That's exactly how he fought last night. So, we can't.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying I don't think his victory was as hyped as it should be. It wasn't as good as it's been hyped to be. It was a good performance. Yes, he fought Frankie Edgar. Leading up to it, I'd said to you during the week, I want to change my pick. I think Frankie will win. But you could just see it. He was just, Jose they looked like, it was weird to think that it was Edgar dropping down from 55 and not the other way around, because Aldo just looked like the bigger guy.
That's one thing I'll say as well. Aldo physically looked a lot better than he looked against McGregor. 100%. He looked very drained against McGregor.
To be fair, saying that the performance or whatever shouldn't get the plaudits it deserves or something like that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what you just said,
like that,
saying that, he could have looked better. We have to remember, this is Frankie Edgar that has been on an absolute tear. Aldo went in there and won every single round of that fight handily. He wasn't tested. So,
I really do think it was one of his better performances I've seen, especially in the UFC. It wasn't flashy.
No.
It wasn't. It wasn't flashy at all.
No. And this is what's weird. I'm almost contradicting myself.
Yeah.
It was impressive in such a way, but it wasn't the greatest ever Jose Aldo you've ever seen. It was an incredibly impressive victory over a very dangerous opponent, Frankie Edgar.
One thing that I will
but
say,
I don't think it was as amazing as people are saying.
I think it depends on how you define great.
Yeah.
13 seconds.
Yeah, that's a form of greatness.
Yeah.
But so is the fact that GSP
though,
won had defended his title so many times by getting unanimous decisions where he dominated fights.
Yeah.
That's what Aldo done last night.
Yeah.
At the most
but don't you think also, sorry to cut in, because I'm going to cut in because I'm going to go a word in edgeways.
Well, we just, sorry Dan, sorry about that, Dan. We just forget that you're on the fucking show.
That's okay. Don't you think also that maybe Aldo wanted to prove a point? Hey, look, I can play this game of being the counter fighter rather than being the guy who always goes forward, because last time he tried that, he did get knocked out in 13 seconds. And he wanted to prove a point. Hey, especially with McGregor sitting in the background, and obviously we saw the picture that you posted up now, standing up and giving the death stare to both of them. Maybe to prove, hey, look, you come to fight, maybe it's my time to pick you apart if you start coming forward. So just puts that little. Why should he always be the? He's been in the game for 10 years. Do you know what I mean? But he played it smart. But credit to Edgar, man, and not at one point. Every shot he took, even if he was hurt, he just kept on coming forward. And to Aldo's credit, he stood his ground. He stayed composed. He didn't rush in to finish with a kill or maybe to get caught with something. I thought it was a very good fight. Yeah. But I think Aldo changed his game plan just to test out and see how he would feel being the counter fighter in this fight. And if he needs to use it against McGregor, which hopefully the fight will happen, it may be something that he can use and be comfortable with.
We're going to move it on to the next one. This is where Anderson Silva stepped in at short notice against Daniel Cormier, and the crowd were booing. My quick assessment of it is I thought Daniel Cormier done exactly what he needed to do. Why is Daniel Cormier, the current light heavyweight champion, going to take a risk and stand toe-to-toe with Anderson Silva, probably one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time? Why is he going to stand and give him the opportunity? Why would he not say, do you know what, I'm an amazing wrestler. I can put you on the ground and do what I want with you there. So I'm going to do that. And in fairness to Anderson Silva, his defense was phenomenal, not letting DC move his position, advance his position.
The lockdown.
Yeah, the lockdown was absolutely every time, and DC even mentioned it in post fight, you know. But the crowd booing, I think it's because they wanted to see action. It's almost what I'm saying, the contradiction of what I'm saying to Jose Aldo. The crowd want to see action, but it's as you were saying, there is a brilliance in something else. And Daniel Cormier said, "You're right, Anderson, you're an amazing fighter, but I know I'm going to beat you if I do this." So we done it. And you seen with 30 seconds to go when Anderson landed that body kick, he hurt Cormier. So that's the risk that Cormier took out of the fight by taking him down. So, it's disappointing to see the crowd booing, but...
Gonna use an analogy here. Like, Daniel Cormier was down, if you take a shark. Daniel Cormier was being a shark. A shark is a shark. What does a shark do? It's a shark. It bites shit. What Daniel Cormier is a wrestler. What does he do? He wrestled shit. Fair enough.
Very eloquent.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all Daniel Cormier had to do, and he was right to do it. Don't take the risk.
The funny thing, I think, is that the same people who are booing were the same people who are cheering when Brock Lesnar done the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Daniel Cormier gets a bit of a bad rap. I think you were saying as well. Sometimes he comes off when he's with
condescending and
when
preachy
he's with John Jones. And I think that kind of played off. And John Jones played to it. He called Cormier out, and he's like, "Oh, look, the fans are booing." I think the fans caught on to that. But there was a lot of people on Twitter who were just doing me head in, like
just shitting all over Cormier.
I don't think they were booing because Cormier was taking it. I think also maybe
a lot of Anderson Silva
they wanted Silva to do his flashy moves, to throw his swings, because when he did, they were cheering. But let's see, Cormier landed a good couple of right hands as well, man. Anderson Silva, but credit where credit's due, man. He stepped in, he done what he had to do, and it was a good fight for Anderson Silva in the fact that he just come off surgery, and like he said in his post-fight interview, it was a good warm-up fight for him in the sense that there really wasn't any risk, win or lose. If he lost, which he did, hey, you're the guy who stepped in last minute to save the show. If he won, well, fucking hell, that would have been we'd be talking totally different about the fight right now. But yeah, I thought credit where credit's due, man. He's the gatekeeper. And
my definite real on is Daniel Cormier done what he had to do to get the win. He would have looked back if he stood and let's say Anderson Silva did beat him. All of a sudden he's the light heavyweight champion who just got beaten by the middleweight.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So it makes the Cormier had to do that.
Yeah,
and if you think differently, you're an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%. It's
like Atten. You know what I mean? Why would you stand in front of a loaded gun? Do you know what I mean? Like, so don't stand in front of Anderson Silva because that's what he fucking is.
Sorry to cut in, but I didn't get to speak to you guys on the last show, right? Yeah. So would you have? What was your thought when the fight was announced of him fighting Silva? I personally thought it was going to be Gustafsson.
I would imagine there, Dan, that Cormier didn't want Gustafsson on short nose because it would have been his belt and it would have been a different opponent, so it would have been very dangerous. While this, in a sense, was a no loss for Cormier too. His belt wasn't on line and it was different. While if he got Gus, if it was Gus, it would have been a title fight, and it's a very as much as he's long, he's a very different challenge to what John Jones is too. So I'd say DC might have said, "Look, I'll fight Gus next, but I want a full camp for him."
That's a very good point.
Another one as well is that Anderson Silva was in Vegas. Anderson Silva was there to induct Nogueira into the Hall of Fame, which is
well, Gus was at the fights last night as well.
I know he was flying over.
He had to get a
flight over. I think he flew over when he heard the news. But you have to give Anderson Silva credit that he come over to induct Gus into the Hall of Fame. He ends up fighting at UFC 200 against Daniel Cormier, a former heavyweight.
So, moving on to the heavyweights and the return of the beast, Brock Lesnar, taking on Mark Walkaway, KO star that everybody predicted. Didn't do it. Brock Lesnar done what he does. This is, again, you were saying there that people were booing Cormier. Brock Lesnar wanted when the fight started and he was standing at a distance, I was going, "What the fuck are you doing, Brock? Brock, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And he actually hunt through a few shots and Brock just blocked him by having big fuck off shoulders, but he got the takedown. I said it like you were saying about Hunt's takedown defense is a lot faster. You could see in the first round Brock power doubled him and got him down, was picking him up and slamming him well, not so much slam, but picking up and dumping him.
They were,
but it was a slam,
the second half of it, he said the second round, then you could see Brock was a little more desperate in his takedowns, and he started going for singles and stuff, and Hunt was getting away with it. But then the third round, he done the same, got him up against the cage, took him down, and then beat the brakes off him for it. So as much as it mightn't have been the incredible fight that everyone thought is in the big stand-up. Brock Lesnar done exactly what Brock Lesnar had to do. The blueprint was there. Just saying, called it.
I'm going to use an analogy here. A shark is...
You wouldn't stand in front of a loaded gun, so why would you stand in front of Mark Hunt?
Why would you stand in front of a shark?
But when you surprised, sorry, Carl, when you guys surprised when Brock was going for them takedowns, like you say, look desperate. Didn't see Hunt throwing that uppercut.
No.
I really wish they was throwing them uppercuts.
Yeah.
But again, you've got to think 5 years out of the cage for Brock Lesnar. He came in, he dominated, done what he had to do. He had the couple, it was a bit of a stalemate. But when he started putting them pepper shots, you got to think from someone who wears double XL gloves and then power that he's got behind him, then pepper shots to the head. First of all, it didn't look much, and after a while, he just started.
Should you see Hunt's face in the presser?
I'll tell you what though, like. I always forget that about Brock Lesnar. His ground and pound is really fucking good. Like, his ground and pound in comparison to a lot of fighters, it is it's very different.
He's good at chopping, isn't it? He's good at very giving short chopping shots to the face and still having an effect, like pepper shots, and having a big effect.
And you can see it in his opponent's faces as well, because they take the first shot and they're like, I'm okay, and then the second one lands and they're like, oh shit, I'm in trouble here, I need to move, and the third shot lands and they're big shots. They're not the usual small, they're not rangy shots, but they're not the usual shots that just kind of annoy you. Yeah. They're big shots. And I always forget, I didn't give Brock Lesnar the credit he deserved in terms of how big he is. I forgot how big that man is. He is unhuman.
He looked in shape though as well.
Yeah.
I know he looked big.
He looks different,
but he didn't look overly massive and to think
bulky.
Bloody hell, But he uses his weight well as well. I mean, look how I was a second round when Hunt was underneath and he was in deep half.
Yeah.
And you could just see him trying to gasp for air. I mean, I felt so sorry for him. I thought he might tap out just from pure exhaustion,
Yeah.
But Lesnar again, used his weight very well on top of it, man. Very well, and managed to get them the ground and pound as well.
With Hunt, you have to say, I wish he did try to uppercut, but the first round by Brock Lesnar, I'd say that played on his mind because they were slams. They really were. They were slams to the ground, and then he got beat up while he was on the ground, and Hunt just didn't want any of that. And he was trying to land the big shot, and you could see at times Lesnar was faking the takedown, and he was kind of slipping, and he was getting a little bit nervous. You could see it. But I think all credit has to go to Brock Lesnar because you have to think about what he done. He left after a 2-fight skid, didn't look good. He went to the WWE. He had very bad surgery, very serious surgery. Came back after 5 years. He still only has 8 fights, 9 fights.
That was a night
in
last
MMA,
night,
in MMA, and looked that good. Didn't look right in the stand-up. We didn't expect him to, but he just beat a top 10 heavyweight.
Yeah, but you see, he didn't look good in the stand-up, right? But he's fighting an elite K1 striker. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. You have to.
Rob, the thing is, right? A shark, right?
Now he started, Carl.
Yeah, but you know what I have to say? It's good for Brock Lesnar, it's good for the WWE, and it's good for the UFC.
Yeah.
But like Mark Hunt, to me, watching all his interviews beforehand, it's great in hindsight. You can say this. To me, it just looked like he was cocky. He was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fucking lift his head off his shoulders."
I think that's just Mark Hunt generally not giving a fuck.
And plus, he thinks he can knock out everybody because he can.
Exactly, that's the thing. Like, if he hits you right, he will fucking knock you out.
But he didn't. He didn't throw it though. That's the problem.
That's
you can see him loading up, and I'm sitting in front of the TV going, "He's gonna throw it now. He's gonna throw it."
I think Rob nailed it though. I think the first round and especially the first takedown got into his head, and because I said it last week, Dan, on the show when we were breaking it down, I said, Hunt's takedown defense has come on leaps and bounds. I said, but Brock Lesnar taking you down is like a train running through you, and that's exactly like you look at Hunt. Hunt cuts to get to 265, and then so by the time he steps into the cage, God only knows what he's weighing. But Lesnar picked him up as if he was picking up a child and just put him on his arse.
And the thing is, the way he landed, he drives in with his shoulders. So when he lands on, he doesn't land on you flat. He makes sure he drives that shoulder.
No, and like you said, again, for the purists or for the casuals watching it wasn't the most exciting fight in the world to watch. But as Carl has correctly said, if a shark, it is.
I'll say one more thing as well. I was thinking of last night. 2016. That's the closest you're going to get to the original MMA.
Yeah,
the closest you're going to get. Brock Lesnar had not much striking, and then he was just way too powerful in the wrestling.
But do you know what? You had loads of them calling out fucking Stefan Struve, I think, called him out, and
Called
who
it
was-
Brock?
Yeah, after a
What
couple
the
of people was
JDS.
But he's not going to fight again. This was a
JD,
one-fight deal,
no,
wasn't
he
it?
will. He's going to fight in
Dunno.
that pretend stuff in next month, isn't he? But
Yeah.
then he'll
Randy
come.
Orton,
I
yeah,
guarantee
some
he'll
of
be fighting in New York. Brock
Yeah.
Lesnar will
We'll
be
go,
fighting in New York.
That would-
before we
that would
move
be
on,
awesome.
go around the room. Dan, will he fight again in MMA in the UFC?
Yes.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, I just said New York.
Yeah, I'll say yeah.
He's got the buds. I reckon he's got the
Yeah,
buds.
Yeah, he
think so.
loves it. But come here, you look at that Brock Lesnar. Now, it'd be interesting to see, I suppose, tests. But you look at that Brock Lesnar, his physical state to what he was.
Yeah.
Like, he's fucking... Brock Lesnar was used, but he was... The definition in him last night,
Yeah,
like, Steph,
that's-
he
yeah,
was
Dan just said-
incredible looking.
He was Bob Sapp. He was 300 pounds with abs.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was incredible looking.
Don't compare him to Bob Sapp.
I mean,
Physique,
Move on.
I
physically.
mean, sheer size and weight. That's the
But you
only
can
thing.
see it, like, as in... That's what I thought was quite funny, Goldberg. And in the octagon, we've got a combined weight of 500.
Yeah.
And that's not including Dan Mergliotta.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan goes, yeah, and Dan's not a lightweight.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Rogan.
What was I going to say? Yeah, they also gave him the single presser treatment as well.
Yeah.
Brock
Yeah,
Lesnar,
yeah, seeing that. Yeah, and the whole myths of coming out to all his WWE, came out to Enter Sandman.
Yeah,
And
classic.
no, we
UFC,
did.
yeah.
And you know what? I thought it was good. As much as, yeah, it's going to bring across all the little nerdy nerds from WWE and all that and stuff. That's grand. But, like, I think it's good for the UFC and it's good for the WWE. And I think they're bringing out a computer game soon, like the 11th of October or something.
We-
If I see that fucking ad one more
Yeah.
fucking...
See, we were
I
on Fight
tweeted
Pass.
BT.
They showed it a few
We-
times, but I
we
heard
only
him.
seen it once.
Oh.
They only showed it once
Yeah.
on Fight Pass.
I tweeted BT to
Yeah.
say, will you
Did they answer?
get rid of this, will you?
Yeah.
Dan, did you watch on BT or did you watch on Fight Pass?
Fight pass.
Every fucking ad.
Fight Pass.
Suplex City. You're cordially invited to
Yeah.
Suplex City. I swear to God. It's out on
You
the
got
11th of
Suplex
August
for TV.
anyway in all formats. Christ,
Yeah.
or 11th of October it's out.
The one thing,
Jesus.
the one thing that I actually really like about Brock Lesnar, even in the WWE universe,
His tattoo on his chest.
that's amazing. Do you ever hear him talk
His
about
haircut.
the business of wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, to him, that's all there is. It's just business. He's there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not that he particularly likes it or that he's a huge wrestling fan himself. It's to get paid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah. Well, we've only one more fight,
Yeah.
so do you have 2 minutes to give you a quick one on
Yeah.
that? Your main
Yeah.
event, Amanda Nunes versus Misha Tate for the women's bantamweight title. Dan Overheady, what did you think of the fight?
What did I think? I can't believe Misha lost, man. And my wife was crying next to me. It's bad.
I was laughing the whole
Bad.
time.
I know you was laughing, Carl. I was actually thinking of you. Yeah, shouting at your TV and celebrating.
Yeah,
Nah, you know what? Misha didn't look herself, did she?
No.
When she was standing in the corner, and do you know what? Again, what gave it away is when they announced her name. And what did she do? She roared. She shouted,
Yeah.
like, as if to get herself psyched up.
Yeah.
And I thought, you've never done that.
Yeah.
You've never, ever, ever done that.
I was thinking
Last
that
time-
walking when she was walking out to the octagon, I says, Tate's in trouble here. And then when she came out, for people watching on thing, she came out and her defence was this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going, what the fuck are you doing? Is
If
she
anyone
fighting a
can't see
ghost?
this, it's Niles just waving his hands in the air.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just literally she looked like she was fending off a ghost or something, or a fucking
Yeah.
spider web got in her hair or
But
something.
she looked nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was because the whole
The
weight cut
occasion.
issue,
You-
the whole thing that was around her. I don't know, but she just didn't look herself. It was a shame. I mean, everyone knows what happened. You know, rear naked choke. She tapped, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys.
was hugging her
she
straight
tapped
away.
on, and she tried to carry on wrestling. And
Was
then,
she wrestling or was she hugging her?
No, she wasn't hugging her. You see her grab the
The
arm.
ref had to pull her
and
off.
trying to go and
Yeah.
trying to wrestle again, and then you hear the referee go, Misha, dude,
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
should've been.
what I thought was, I thought she looked very nervous. I actually think the UFC, as much as it sounds deadly to get the main event, I think they put a lot more pressure on her. She originally was the third from the top. It
Yeah.
was Brock
Yeah.
as the co-main and Jones, Cormier. Then they announced Brock as the main,
Yeah.
and then they moved that and put Tate as the. So all of a sudden it was Tate Nunes,
Tate, yeah.
UFC
She was
200.
the one,
That's
yeah.
huge
That's
fucking
huge, yeah.
pressure for
But
her
is it?
first title
But
defense.
is it though? Because
Yeah.
like, if you're fighting and
I
you
just
fought
said it
before-
is, Dan. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
No, man, that shouldn't play into a factor. To her, it should be a fight, man.
Yeah.
Again, I've never fought in UFC 200, but or UFC. It shouldn't like. I would like to think, and obviously, totally different scenario. if I was to referee on the UFC, for me to just referee as any other fight, as opposed to going, shit, I'm on the UFC, shit, I'm on the UFC, and for it to affect my calls or how I'm doing it. I personally think, I don't think it was that. I don't think it was the whole event, the whole thing. I think maybe the prep, maybe the weight cut, maybe just the backstories that was coming of it, and the whole thing of coming out, she couldn't, she might have been pulled off the fight if she turned up a minute later for the weigh-ins and shit like that. I think that's the bit that might have.
And also, I say the other bit that might have done it is Amanda Nunes is a beast in the first round.
Yeah. Amanda Nunes looked deadly. In fairness to her,
early, like that's what we said on the show. If Amanda Nunes gets out there and she lands in the first round, she can do something. I just thought Miesha Tate would have been able to, withstand that and be able to stop her from finishing her. But yeah, Amanda looked great.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is, Dan, we'll finish her up and put her away. You welcome your guests there and have a good evening. And Mr. Mulvaheady, it's great to hear your beautiful velvet voice back on the air.
Can't tell you how happy
see you next week, and maybe we can talk a little bit about Bellator, huh?
Yeah, awesome, we'll hit Bellator, and we'll have some guests soon, hopefully as well, once we get the sound. But listen, Dan, great talking to me, man. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and all love to the Mulvaheadies.
Appreciate that, gues. Take care. See you
later.
Peace and love. All right.
Take care. Peace. Bye bye.
But yeah, look, I thought watching it, like I just thought Miesha's tactics she looked nervous 100%, but her tactics, the way she was defending shots,
even her demeanour at the weigh-ins. Her demeanour at the weigh-ins, she didn't look like it was a bad weight cut, because I know she made weight fairly handily. It was a bit of a 0.5 under when she took off the clothes and stuff. So but even just the whole demeanour, there was something leading up to it. You kind of get that. I remember I said it to you in work. I was like, Amanda Nunes is going to win this fight. It's just because they're in the main event, a Miesha Tate win just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It's going to be something weird, something. But
you know when you're sitting watching a fight, and you're sitting at home and you're looking at it, and Dan nailed it when she would start screaming. You're sitting there looking at it going, she just doesn't look comfortable here.
I see.
And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I was watching it, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just fucking thick. I didn't get that sense at all.
Oh, 100%. Even because she normally comes out to Katy Perry, tag and all that, right? And she comes, that's 2 weeks in a row, it's on Katy Taylor.
Yeah.
Katy Taylor. Come on. Oh, Jesus God. But Katy Perry. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, she normally comes out singing it and giving it socks to that. But she wasn't. She just looked petrified. She genuinely looked petrified, and I really thought the occasion got to her. But again, I'm taking credit away from Amanda Nunes. She looked fucking beast mode.
Yeah, like obviously I just said, like, I didn't get that sense, but maybe it was the case.
But you were also tired.
I was
he moved from the Guinness to the coffee.
Puppy boy was tired, right?
4:30.
I sat with beers in the house and didn't open them.
I was fucked last night. That card went on really long. I was in work early that morning as well, so I was like coming home, didn't get any sleep. I was fucked. But like me, I didn't get that sense going into the fight. And it's obviously it must be just me or everybody else is, like, wrong.
We could be all wrong, Carl.
Yeah, we could be.
You've been right a lot. We've been wrong a lot. So that's a fair show.
It's not even yous that have just said that. It is like members of like world media that have said that as well.
She looked.
Yeah, she did. Everybody else has said
it's badly smashed up as well. You see her in the press.
I'll say one thing though. Fair play to her for going to the press conference, because if that was me, there's no way. Her nose was still bleeding as she was speaking. She still spoke to, like, I think it was Luke Thomas who put up just a little comment on Miesha, basically saying that no matter what you say about the fighters in this sport, especially like the likes of Miesha Tate and stuff, they're some of the best athletes at giving the media something to ask about after the fight. They'll speak to everybody, even with blood like pouring from her nose after the fight. And I think that's one thing that.
Did you notice as well though in the press conference as well, so we're coming across, is that they actually said, right, look, listen, Miesha has to go to the hospital, so if you actually have questions for Miesha, can you please ask them now? And the next thing, okay, no problem. I have a question for Daniel. Daniel, you're like, oh my God, like. But look, Nunes looked absolutely. I think Nunes, if she can sort the cardio out as in getting out of this first round, maybe she doesn't need to get out of the first round. This is the thing,
Ronda done it for a long time.
But I think she's a nightmare for anyone.
I don't know. My first instinct,
a wrestler will do like.
My first instinct when she won the title, I tweeted it and I said at the car was that I think this title is going to flip flop between different people for the next couple of fights. I think whoever fights Amanda Nunes, if it's, I think
see, it's such a new division.
I think Penna would beat her. I'd probably pick Penner. I'd pick Rousey if Rousey comes back. I'd pick Holm.
If Ronda stands with her.
No, I'd still pick Rousey. I'd pick Rousey to take her down and finish her.
Just because of Nunes' pressure towards her.
Mm.
That plays into Ronda's
Yeah,
judo. That's how I think.
There's a lot of girls who I'd pick. Even a Misha Tate rematch, I wouldn't go completely away from Misha Tate in that fight if she made adjustments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think that this title's going to bounce around a little bit, and I think there's not many dominant champions anymore. You have DJ there. Who else? Who's a dominant champion?
Well, John Jones never
Robbie
lost.
John
Lawler.
Jones never lost. I
Yeah,
suppose
as you said, the only thing he lost was a steering wheel and
Yeah.
powder.
Robbie fucking Lawler.
Robbie Lawler will be a dominant champion, but he
How many times has Robbie defended his belt?
3 times.
3 times, yeah.
Mm.
3 or 4
He
times.
seems
That count as dominant?
In today's
No,
market,
no,
apparently,
no,
yeah,
no. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
I
you
don't have
look
the
at
same impression that I just get, but he seems beatable by some of the guys there. Like I can't see him losing. Like the likes of when Anderson Silva was there against that crop of middleweights, I never seen him losing until Chris Weidman came up. I was like, okay, this guy has a chance. Then GSP, all them welterweights.
you have to look though at Anderson Silva, right? As much as I'm not Anderson Silva's biggest fan now, I sound like it from being on this show. But if you know, every year that Anderson Silva looked invincible, he was getting a year older and older and older and
of
older.
course, yeah.
And then a young fucking lion will always come along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you could freeze Anderson Silva when he was in the Rich Franklin destroying era, I think he'd rule that division forever. Now that doesn't happen. Father Time keeps going tick-tock, you know?
Yeah, I think as well that we have to say that that's an anomaly in MMA. That doesn't happen. People don't stay dominant for that long.
No. But
This
that's because it's
sport
such a new
chaotic.
sport. But
And
it's
it's
such a
chaotic
young
as well.
sport is that it evolves so much, and everybody thinks, wrestling is the best form of it. And then they go, no, striking is. Well, last night wrestling showed two of the biggest hitters in MMA, Mark Hunt and Anderson Silva, were absolutely destroyed by wrestling.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways to lose in MMA.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to lose.
What was
It's
your? I'm
difficult.
interested to see now with all the big talk and all their excitement and like, what was your real breakdown of 200? What's your over the card as a whole? What was your
Card as a whole, it was a very good card. Very good. I was hoping for more.
yeah?
I'm not disappointed. I was hoping for more. It was very good.
You sound like a parent. I'm not angry.
Yeah.
Just disappointed.
No, I'm not this.
No, I know.
I wasn't let down by the card. It opened very well and kind of tailed off, but that doesn't make it a bad card.
Yeah. I think there's some outstanding fights there that I'd go back and rewatch. But I do think that.
Well, you just walked in. I was here before the lads, and I'm sitting here watching Joe Lozon and Diego Sanchez.
Exactly,
like, so
there's some definite fights there and important fights, but I do think that as the card went on, it started to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. See, you could take in the card with everything. Like, let's be honest, the card was a little cursed.
I think it was
in the end. It was cursed.
Like you look
In the end,
originally
it was
with
cursed.
McGregor and did you see McGregor's press conference actually where he turned around and said, actually, if you look at the co-main and the main, they weren't at the press conference either.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that ultimately, in the game of measuring fucking cock, the UFC lost this to Conor McGregor. That card would have been huge. If Conor McGregor...
I'm sure it still was huge.
Sure it was still huge. But I mean, actually sitting at home watching it. When I watched it, for me...
Some of those seats were empty in the stadium.
It wasn't a sellout. I've been talking to people who were at it, and even by
yeah.
the time Brock was in, there was empty seats. I was talking to
But
lads
the
who were
thing,
there. But if
historically, Brock doesn't sell out Vegas.
Yeah. But like you
Historically.
look at like the Musasi fight, like Jim Miller, Musasi Lozon, 3 phenomenal finishes. Maybe people are gonna say, "Oh, you're only saying that because it was finishes." Sage Northcutt was a good fight. It wasn't a technically amazing fight because it was a young, inexperienced fighter. So he's learning his way and he's learning in front of our eyes. TJ Dillashaw was a masterclass.
Yeah.
But again, for watching it, you're there going, like, people go, "Oh, it wasn't great because it was all Dillashaw." So there was no real mix-up. Same with Kevin Gastelum, Johnny Hendricks. It was all Gastelum. Hendricks had 1 or 2 brief moments, but it was all Gastelum. I liked the Pena Sagano fight. I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good fight. Third round, it was just all Pena. So again, if you're a neutral watcher, you're just trying to watch it to watch a good fight. Yeah. This is the point I'm trying to make. Travis Cain Velasquez, phenomenal. No argument. Jose Aldo again. I thought it was a good fight. I know what I was saying earlier. I just don't think it was the incredible, amazing performance that people are saying it was. DC against Anderson, same thing. Dominant by DC, so people aren't seeing a barn burner of a fight. Brock Lesnar, very similar fight in the style. The threat of Mark Hunt was there, but it was Brock Lesnar doing what he's done, and then Amanda Nunes. So there wasn't that real fight of, oh my God, Rob's winning. Oh, Carl hit him. Oh my God, what a fight.
I think
And I think a lot of people were building to that with this card. And I just
I
think
also
the more the card went on after Jose Aldo, it went away. It went away. And by the time Misha Nunes came, you were like, oh.
I think it was just a deflation of not having a staple the main event.
Exactly. That's my point,
Yeah.
though.
I think
That's exactly what my point is.
I don't think you can really blame anybody for that, though.
No,
but I know that too. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, if there was...
If Conor McGregor was on after Amanda Nunes, Misha Tate, everyone would be in fucking till all
Even
hours.
Jones and DC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that was a
of
good
course.
replacement for that fight.
Yeah, but again, it was weird.
Well, I think the problem with it is that
I think John Jones was fucked.
Yeah, I think the problem with it is that you're looking at
UFC.
Everyone's looking at the card and you're saying, okay, I'm expecting Amanda Nunes versus Misha Tate to be third from top.
Yeah,
and I expect that since last month.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to watch that fight. And then it slowly but surely
worked its way up,
and you're like, okay, that was a great fight. It still is a great fight.
No disrespect to the two ladies.
Yeah,
like
no disrespect, but I was expecting that to come
event.
here, and then I was expecting to see this other fight, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So coming from that perspective, it was a little deflating because it's kind of like, I can't even think of an analogy, but it's like
if you were a shark. No, it is. You know what it is?
It's your biggest card in the last 7 years. It's UFC 200, and you don't have that main staple.
It's like
WrestleMania main event.
It's like going to a gig, right? And all this, you go see a band and they play all their best songs first, and then they go off and they come out and one more tune. You go, yeah, we just wrote this song yesterday, so here we go, and everyone goes, oh, I don't know this.
Yeah, or it's like having a steak dinner with fucking lovely mashed potato, just the best mashed potato ever. But then the steak gets put away and you just have the mashed potato. It's still lovely, but it's like you wanted the steak as well because that was the main event. Do you know what I mean?
Not if you're a vegetarian.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
I'm loving these analogies.
Yeah. So look, that was UFC 200. You know, people will always give out and crib and cry about cards. I personally, now that had hindsight and retrospect and all that malark, 202 is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
Probably. But look, listen.
You picked 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look,
like
this has been obviously Fight Talk 2026. We're going to be coming at you with a Google Hangout during the week as well for the card during the week. So we just like to give a shout out to our sponsors as always, MMAmix.com for all your MMA needs. They're obviously good because they're with obviously Fight Talk. Thanks to all the staff again here in the Whiskey Fair, and for the band playing the ballads downstairs, keeping us going. Rob even wore his Ireland jersey just to go along with the ballads. So Carl, say your good nights.
Good night.
Rob, say your good nights.
Adios.
And Dublin, as always, you have been absolutely beautiful. Check us out on Twitter at @talk_fight, and obviously Fight Talk on all the social media for all your interaction with us. Have a safe and beautiful day. Good night.